Welcome, everybody, to the virtual Veterans for Peace Memorial Day event this year. Normally, we'd be all together at the gates of heaven with a live audience and live musicians, but this year, because of the pandemic, it's going to be an all virtual event. But thank you all for joining us, and thanks to everybody who made this possible. My name is Norman Stockwell. I'm the publisher of the Progressive Magazine, and I'm glad to be hosting this event together with the Madison chapter of Veterans for Peace. Let's start off with David Giffey, co-founder of Chapter 25, the Clarence Kalin chapter of Veterans for Peace here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Welcome to Wisconsin's annual Memorial Day Alternative Peace Rally, sponsored by the Clarence Kalin Chapter 25 of Veterans for Peace and the Friends of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade and the Progressive Magazine. My name is David Giffey. Veterans for Peace is an international organization of more than 120 chapters worldwide. Our mission is the abolition of war. We work to educate ourselves and our families and our communities about the human and the monetary costs of war. I am a veteran of the American War in Vietnam and a founding member of the Chapter 25 Veterans for Peace. For many years, this rally has been assisted by the skills of Steve Ringwood and Norm Stockwell. Norm is an activist and the publisher of the Progressive Magazine, and he was a close friend of Clarence Kalin's. We thank Norm and Steve for their continued help with this virtual program this year, and we hope you enjoy it. There are a lot of people to thank, including everyone on the program. And we thank you especially for joining us as we celebrate peace. And we particularly want to thank the videographer, Brian Alberth. By way of a very brief introduction, I would like to mention a paragraph, read a paragraph that I found that in a recent story by the cable news network. And it goes like this, quote, "The senior U.S. general responsible for U.S. troops in the Middle East made clear that the U.S. intends to maintain military influence and the ability to carry out airstrikes in Afghanistan after American and NATO troops are withdrawn from the country later this year," unquote. That's the first paragraph of this story from CNN. In other words, not much will change. Foreign invasions and occupations by the United States have preoccupied us and resulted in a military presence by the United States around the world, an involvement in wars and actual governance in those countries. From post-colonial times until now, the so-called longest war in Afghanistan, the U.S. has invaded and occupied other countries. Otherwise, organizations like Veterans for Peace probably would not exist. In 2017, the Defense Manpower Data Center noted that the U.S. military had at least 200,000 active service members abroad being deployed across 170 countries worldwide. The United States has active duty military troops stationed in nearly 150 countries, according to CNN. To maintain its global presence, the United States operates more than 500 military bases on foreign sites across every continent except Antarctica. The most obvious and direct incentive to host a foreign power like the United States in your country is some sort of financial payoff. Countries like the United States can pay countries for the privilege of having bases on their soil, something many of those countries then pay back by purchasing American military equipment. I'd like to personally thank you on behalf of Veterans for Peace, Chapter 25, and the Progressive Magazine, and the videographer, Brian Elberth, for watching the Veterans for Peace Alternative Memorial Day program for 2021. Next year, we hope to be back with you in person for this peace rally. Thank you very much. David Cooper is a member of Veterans for Peace and a poet and a clergy person, and he's the former Madison police chief, actually, who practiced and taught the importance of community policing while he was the police chief. His newest book of poetry is entitled In My 80th Year.
Hi, I'm David Cooper, and I'm a member of Veterans for Peace. It's been about 20 years now. What attracted me to Veterans for Peace is not that we were going to be something against war, but that we would be also for peace. And some of you may know that I served as the chief of police in Madison from 1972 until 1993 when I went off to the ministry. But I do remember a time just after I was appointed chief of police, I got a letter from a young boy, and it was this handwritten letter, and said, Dear Chief Cooper, would you be our peace chief? And that sort of stuck in my mind all these years, that the nature of policing should be that of keeping peace and being peacemakers. But I want to talk two short poems. The first has to do when I was in the South Pacific in the late 1950s at the hydrogen bomb tests. And that kind of changed my whole life about the warrior that I was being trained to be. Seemed pretty insignificant against these hydrogen bombs that put aircraft carriers 6,000 feet in the air. What good would it do me if I'm a well-trained warrior in that type of war? There really wasn't any winners in that kind of war. So the first poem has to do with that, and it was seeing this mushroom cloud, this toadstool, from the deck of an aircraft carrier, and seeing other smaller aircraft carriers and cruisers on top of this huge, huge crowd. This poem is called Toadstool. And this was a young Marine aboard aircraft carrier USS Boxer as part of the Marine Detachment. I cry now because we just don't know. We are led by the nose till it hurts and our eyes smart. It's not just firecracker gunpowder. It's the son of a bitch and maimer of all. It's the coach the four horsemen have been pulling. See the whole picture now? Still want to take a ride? The next one has to do with, I think, a commitment to the important role of justice and peacekeeping. And this was about the inaction of some crowds that were around Kitty Genovese when she was killed, and the inaction of white allies when Rosa Parks was on a bus, and it just moved me that we could say the same thing today about George Floyd. Say the same thing today about hundreds of young black men that have been killed by police. I am Rosa Parks. I am Kitty Genovese. I am Virginia Woolf. I am Ellen James. Is my lust to kill them as great as theirs was that night? Is this my way of dealing with the beast within? Or can this be the feminine part of me, my androgyny, screaming hoarse and gasping sentences until no word is understandable but one: justice. So as the war kicks up again in the Middle East this Memorial Day, let us remember what we are remembering. And let us all work together to work for peace as brothers and sisters. As Dr. King warns us, unless we learn to live together in brothers and sisters, we are going to die together as fools. God bless you all.
Hi everybody, we're Old Cool. We're going to do a little song or two for you, so we're going to get it underway. Thank you very much for coming. Okay. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. I'm gonna try on my long white robe down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna try on my long white robe down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. Monica. Gonna join hands with everyone down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna join hands with everyone down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more. All right, thank you.
I'm Will Williams, a member of Chapter 25, Veterans for Peace. I've been in the chapter ever since the beginning. It was named after Clarence Cleveland for good reasons. Clarence was my mentor. And lately I've been thinking of him a lot with everything that's been happening, especially at the U.S. Capitol. I wonder if he were here today, what he would say, because he had said many times that we were on a road to fascism if we didn't get a grip and stop it. And I think we're almost at the end of that road when you think of what happened. And I also been thinking about the purpose of this day, Decoration Day, how it began and how it's been used today as a means for getting the markets in the black. Instead of thinking of the veterans that gave all, that perished in many different wars, we think more about barbecuing and drinking and having family fun than what this day is really about. As I was coming here a few minutes ago to do this film, I passed many cars going north with their grills strapped on top for their vehicles, going to celebrate. And it made me wonder, how or where will they decorate up in the North Woods? So the day has lost its purpose, and it's troubling that it has. The American people haven't come to grips yet that there are other means to serve the country, to pay tributes than celebrating with drinking and grilling. And as long as this country is allowed to settle its differences by means of violence, we will forever be adding to those graves and celebrating. And I think it's past time for the people of this country to realize that we are part of the world and not the rulers of the world, and to treat people all over the world with honor, respect, and dignity. So if you want to question me on something, you can. No.
Will, you've been at this work for a long time, and now we have a whole new generation of younger activists that are taking to the streets. Do you get inspiration from that?
Yes, I think you might remember, Norm, many years ago when we were discussing the greatest generation, I said the greatest generation was yet to come, because it will be the generation that will refuse to go and kill people for purposes that were not noble. And I think that's happening now. I'm almost over the hill, I'll say. And it's good to see young people getting involved and taking a look at not only what we do in war, but what we do to the ecology, to the environment. And I think they are stepping up, they're getting stronger, and without them, nothing will change.
I think that's good. Anything else you want to add?
Yep, that I hope from this day forward, we'll continue on the path, even though our numbers seem to be dwindling, we still can look forward to the young people carrying the mantle that many of the older refused to carry throughout the years, or we wouldn't be in the situation we're in now.
Since 2007, Chapter 25 has offered cash scholarships to high school students in Madison, Spring Green, Richland Center, Muscoda, Dodgeville, Boscobel, Mazomanie at Wisconsin Heights High School, and Baraboo. The scholarship program is named after our late friend and longtime Veterans for Peace member, Dr. James Allen. To qualify, students are asked to write a 500 to 700 word essay on the topic, "Why I Believe War is Not the Answer." Over the years, we have received more than 200 essays on the subject of peace and nonviolence in a world filled with nonviolence and unending war. This year, in 2021, We received 19 essays from the 6 rural schools.
I'm Anna Dybert. I'm a senior at River Valley High School in Spring Green, Wisconsin. War is not the answer. Our world is filled with hate and division, not only across borders, but within our own country. Not only does war create a view of other countries as enemies when we should see each other as neighbors, but it creates deep-rooted fear and xenophobia of our own citizens back home. These prejudices have impacts that ripple through a country and can last generations. They can leave long-lasting scars and damage for communities, especially minorities. Not only are these severely damaging to people who regularly face discrimination as is, but these divisions actively create blockades, preventing us as a global community from combating universal issues that threaten the health, safety, and wellness of us all. Our country is currently experiencing a dramatic increase in Asian hate crimes. The history of Asian American struggle in the United States is shameful. One of the ugliest periods for specifically Japanese Americans came during World War II. According to the National Archives, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, leading to the forced uprooting of 112,000 people to assembly centers. This blatant racism and discrimination being actively endorsed by a federal government led to a slew of hate crimes during that time. This is just one example of the consequences war can have within a country. Once you label a certain country as an enemy, anyone assumed to be from said country is labeled as an enemy too. Not only are these assumptions flagrant and wrong, they're racist. They create a culture where people point fingers, alienating other individuals based solely on their country of origin, race, or appearance. The Vietnam War is yet another example of Asian Americans being attacked due to the prejudice war creates. According to the Washington Post, U.S. soldiers perpetuated a racial animus against the entire Vietnamese population, something that they carried with them when they returned home. The Post also claims that the lasting effect of the Vietnam War was the blurring of lines between foreign and domestic threats. The threat of actions overseas is no longer seen as an isolated event. Instead, war promotes the idea that the same threat from overseas is here, in our home country. People begin to no longer see fellow citizens, but people who are other. An association between other countries and Americans is doubly harmful. Not only does it alienate and target our own citizens, but it further divides us as a world. In an age where global unification is of the utmost importance, there could be no better time to declare that war is not the answer. As of January this year, COVID-19 had killed 2 million people worldwide, and that number has only increased. Global climate change threatens our immediate future. We need to work together, not just as a country, but as a world. The only thing war will do is divide us, cause us to see differences in each other as ways to bring us down, rather than lift us up. We need unity and love, not war.
I'm a pilgrim and a stranger, traveling through this wearisome land. I got a home that yonder city, good Lord, and it's not made by hand. I got a mother, sister, and a brother who have gone this way before. But I am determined now to I'm going down to the river of Jordan just to bathe my wearisome soul. If I can just touch the hem of his garment, good Lord, well I know he will take me home. Traveling through this wearisome land, and I got a home in that yonder city, Lord, and it's not made by hand, and it's not made by hand.
You know, I was raised with an idea that I was just going to be a mom and a homemaker and a wife, and that was going to be enough for me. I knew I was going to have to fund my own education, and when I got done with my education, I wanted to be working and getting paid a decent salary. And I have always been very happy that I picked nursing, because I have enjoyed the profession of nursing every day. There's never been a day I went to work and felt like, oh geez, I wish I would have picked something else. I worked in nursing for about 10 years, and then I decided I wanted to go to anesthesia school. I didn't know how I was going to do it, so I thought about it, and I thought, oh, the Berlin Wall just came down, the United States and the rest of the world is heading for 1,000 years of peace, and we're going to enter a new era of, you know, everyone getting along. And so I joined the Army, thinking like I would never actually have to be involved in any conflict, and you know, that my commitments would be fulfilled by, you know, taking care of victims of natural disasters and things. And 9 months after I joined the Army, instead of going to anesthesia school, I was mobilized and deployed for Desert Storm. When I was in Desert Storm, taking care of, you know, for hours and hours, sometimes day and night, people that were being injured, you know, due to conflict, due to war, it was an overwhelming feeling of despair, because I realized how brutal people can really be to each other on a huge scale. And I came back and, you know, just threw my whole self and my whole being into anesthesia school, and went and did well and excelled and was prepared to just, you know, live happily ever after, finish my commitment to the military and get out of the military. The year that I actually was able to finish my commitment for my paybacks to the military, I was deployed to Afghanistan instead. We never had any patients come to our trauma hospital in Afghanistan that weren't just absolutely blown to bits. Children, adults, I mean, soldiers, civilians. Personally, I feel like I'm doing pretty well most of the time, you know, with whatever experiences I had there. Last fall, I joined the Veterans for Peace because, I mean, I'm a soldier, but I'm also, you know, a person who was raised as a socialist in this country. I mean, I've worked for political causes I believed in my entire life since I was old enough to walk. But the minute I became a soldier, a lot of these other groups that I used to work with felt uncomfortable with me. On a personal level, I feel like the soldiers have been completely abandoned, and I need to do whatever I can to get them out because, no one else is gonna protect them or think about them besides their families and their communities.
Next, we're really pleased to have with us Tom Neal, former Madisonian, now living up in Price County, Wisconsin, sharing a poem that he wrote for Veterans Day. And then we'll follow that with one more song from Old Cool.
Hi, this is Tom Neal sitting in front of St. Anne's Sauna at Spirit Creek, and I would like to do a poem entitled A Prayer at 11. This was written on Armistice Day in 2009. Forgetting there would be no mail on Veterans Day, the dog and I walked down the driveway to the road. The final 8 logs of a 6-cord load of firewood were scattered around the chopping block. I had shut off my chainsaw and turned my attention towards the towering white pine along the bank of Spirit Creek beyond the western meadow. Aware it was 11 a.m. more or less, I offered a prayer to that forest elder filled with anguish for all of us, wounded as we are by war. Having prayed, I reflected while walking on what prayer might be, not turning from the world towards the divine, rather turning towards the divine through oneself. While I chewed on this, a young eagle heading north swept up the county road, attracting my rapt attention. When I came in the house to pick up a laundry basket to carry in a load of wash, I glanced at the clock above the sink. It was 11:15. That prayer, that walk, the young eagle, all of it had honored the moment when slaughter paused to catch its breath.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming this year. It's been tough on everybody, but I'm hoping that as we move along, things will brighten up in the future and we'll be ready for times to get better, which is actually the name of this next song. So let's proceed. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I've got to tell you, I've been racking my brain, hoping to find a way out. I've had enough of this continual rain. Changes are coming, no doubt. It's been a too long time, no peace of mind, and I'm ready for the times to get better. It's been a too long time, no peace of mind, and I'm ready for the times to get better. Want from me what I cannot give. I feel so lonesome at times. I have a dream that I wish I could live. It's burning holes in my mind. It's been a too long time with no peace of mind, and I'm ready for the times to get better. It's been a too long time, no peace of mind, and I'm ready for the times to get better.
And we end this year's event, as we do every year, with Sean Michael Dargan on the bagpipes. And we'll also have some footage of the Memorial Mile shot in 2013 along Monona Drive. And then we'll hear from Paul McMahon, who will read the names of the Madison branch of Veterans for Peace who have passed away in the last several years.
We honor the memories of our fellow Chapter 25 Veterans for Peace who died in recent years. Clarence Kalin, Joey Camarano, Jim Ellsworth, Sidney Podell, Dr. James Allen, Jeff Goldstein, Charles Sweet, Dr. Eugene Farley, Joe Galswick, John Olinger, Ed Garvey, Willard Mueller, Tom Kemble, Robert Judell, Robert Kimbrough, Roger Chapman, Lars Pripp, And to this list, we add the name of Judith Clare, who passed on in 2020. Judith was a friend and loyal supporter of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade and Veterans for Peace.
Thanks everybody for joining us for this virtual Veterans for Peace Memorial Day this year. Thanks to all the students who wrote essays. Thanks to Paul McMahon, Brad Geyer, and Fran Wiedenhoff, and all the members of the Veterans for Peace Chapter 25. Thanks to Judy Miner of the Wisconsin Network for Peace and Justice for help with publicity. Thanks to Brian Alberth and Left Effect Media and Steve Ringwood for producing this year's video. And thanks to all of you for joining us. If you want more information about the Madison chapter of Veterans for Peace, Chapter 25, the Clarence Kalin chapter, you can go on the web to madisonvfp.org. And if you want more information about the Progressive Magazine, we're on the web too at progressive.org. My name is Norman Stockwell. Thank you all for joining us. Next year, hopefully, we'll be back live again in person for this Veterans for Peace Memorial Day event.